Welcome to the Dr. Hockey Podcast. I'm Dr. Jay Calvert, and today I'm here with, of course, Dr. Jason Berkley, wearing his Red Wings pullover non-hoodie thing. How are you doing?
That's all I have.
I know,
have
you only have Red Wings gear.
No other clothing. That and Detroit Lions and Tigers. In Michigan State. That's it. I don't have anything else.
Lions and Tigers and Wings, oh my. So we also have with us today, and very, very excited to have Pat Brisson, super agent of all the stars in the NHL. We're very, very happy to have you back, Pat. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Absolutely. We're totally pumped to talk to you. We got a lot of questions. We want to hear things are nuts in the NHL right now. There's a lot of movement. That's your shtick, man, is moving these players around to the right deals, and there's nobody better in the business than you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I know there's one movement that made Jason Berkley very happy is one Patrick Kane to the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Was that a Kane-driven move? Was that a Wings? Was that Stevie Y? Who was the mastermind? Was it Jason begging for some power on the?
Did I have any influence over this at all?
Maybe at one point, Jason, I could have used you a little bit in that during this this decision to be made by Pat. Well, first and foremost, I mean, if we go back to the trade deadline last year, he made a decision to continue playing. We all knew that his hip was bad. You know, he's almost bone on bone at the time, and he wanted to keep going because he was playing fairly well and agreed to go to the Rangers. Played, I would say, 80% of what he could be. I mean, he was dealing with a lot, and we had to make some major decisions right after that. Because if you do the labor tear, the typical labor tear surgery, a lot of times sometimes within a year or less, there's complications again and again. And this resurfacing became, two other players had it before. But based on his condition, Pat is pretty light. He's not like a 220-pound player. He never had any issues with that hip before, meaning never had any surgery. So there's no atrophy, there's no inflammation in the area. So we were convinced that it was the right way to go. And it's always a risk because no one else really has, other than Backstrom and a couple other players had that surgery. Backstrom recently retired. Yes. Not based on that, though, but... So I give him a lot of credit because he went through the surgery with Dr. Sue, but after the rehab with Ian McIntyre was handled extremely professionally, which is, in my opinion, to about 80–90% of success. He was dedicated to great rehab. And I would say right around the plan was for us to explore our options at the right time. July 1st, usually, that's when free agency starts. You make decisions based on the current status of where teams are at during the summertime after the draft and where they're at in their building process. But when you have an option to sign as a UFA, a free agent, in November, you have a different idea of where teams are at. So because we can sit here and honestly, we could pick probably 5 teams that we didn't think they were going to be where they're at now, and others who we thought they were. So vice versa. So we start looking at the process. We had teams who were interested in signing him right in July and August, taking the risk, so to speak, to do so. But we waited till about, I would say, mid-October, November to start looking at rosters. So we brought it down to 5 teams where Pat actually we had Zoom call meetings, sessions with these teams, probably a couple face-to-face as well. And obviously, the Red Wings were a part of it. And he played with the Brincat before. Right. And he felt that it was probably, at the current time, it was probably the right team for him. There were other teams who were far ahead in the standings, who have a much better chance to be in the playoffs, perhaps. It was very appealing to him as well. But it wasn't an easy decision. We went a couple weeks back and forth. It reminded me a little bit of the John Tavares concept when John did the interview
Leafs.
Period back to the Leafs. We had teams meeting us, and we had so many conversations. And it's not easy. It's not an easy decision when you have all these options. So. Sure. And yeah, I met with Stevie on Zoom and coach, and I would say honestly, they all did a great job. All the teams, I can say, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they
presented well. They are prepared for the most part. Maybe a couple teams more than others, but at the end of the day, he felt more comfortable joining the Red Wings, and we signed a deal that is only a 1-year deal till the end of the year anyway. So he's up again this summer.
That brings up a question because right now obviously the Wings have played well, then they weren't playing so great, and then he had a kind of a very, very, very brief slow start, and he's been on fire.
Yeah.
Had the overtime winner in the shootout that I was at here in L.A. He's in on all the plays. He's done. I mean, he's become such a bright spot. Clearly, this is a player I think the Wings are going to want to hold on to. Somebody mentioned about trading him. I'm like, I said that would be the stupidest thing in the world to do that. But how does a negotiation, maybe just take his name out of it, but how does a negotiation come on with a veteran player like this that's kind of come back from an injury, has shown everyone, look, I'm still me. He has, obviously, his hands are perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a little slower, but 90%, 95% of Patrick Kane is still better than 90% of the NHL.
Yeah.
So how do you negotiate a veteran like that for a longer-term deal? And is that a little trickier than someone who's in their 20s or early 30s?
Well, for sure, but the concerns were about his health, first of all.
Right.
No one was concerned about whether he can play or not in terms of hockey IQ, his hands, and all that. It was, is he going to be able to skate? Is he going to be able to play after the surgery? Because it's a little bit like Jack Eichel, the ADR surgery, artificial disc replacement, so a little different. So most teams, every team was interested in Patrick Kane, but it was, what kind of Patrick Kane are we going to get? And I was very comfortable into telling the truth, as always, but about how he felt. And Patrick was very honest about himself. He kept saying, I feel great. I feel great. The more we were getting closer to November 15th or so, the better he felt. And he felt great. He was able to cross over. At one point, he texted me, he says, my shot is probably 15 to 20% harder than last year already because I can lean on the right side better. So all these little details, I was convinced. I say, if I'm a team right now, I'm going hard. But you never know medically.
You don't know.
You get hit and all that. So, from that standpoint, now that and I didn't think he was going to be producing as quick as he has because you're missing camp. You're missing 3 months of hockey. Ooh, I don't care who you are.
Right.
You come back at 35 years old after an injury like this. And he didn't skip a beat at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a point a game almost. And he created so many opportunities the first 2-3 games, although he didn't
he's on the number one power play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really it's impressive.
He's impressive, very impressive. So now that we've seen what he is, after 15, 18 games, I'm not so sure. The biggest decision is going to be for Patrick probably this summer. What do I do? Because he's going to have options again, including the Red Wings, I assume.
Yep,
for sure.
And what do I do? Because now it's the Patrick Kane that we know.
Can we call Stevie right now and say a 3-year deal and just do it right now on the podcast? Is that?
I doubt Steve is going to pick up the phone right now.
It's only 3 hours. I'm still sure he's up. It's only 8:40. I mean, he could do it.
Stevie's hard to reach sometimes.
Yeah, it would behoove them to hang on to Patrick Kane. I think that veteran presence for the young core that they have, and I think also the other thing that Dylan Larkin's been in the league for a while, but there is probably a really nice mentorship that, for him in having Patrick Kane there. It's a big deal. I mean, Dylan's a genius, player. But
Dylan's a great player and a great leader, but everyone could use Patrick Kane in the locker room. 3 Stanley Cups, arguably the best American player that's ever played the game.
Yep.
And a great person, a great teammate. He honestly could help any team.
For sure.
So.
Well, just as powerful as he's been for the Red Wings, I kind of wanted to talk to you about your the fabulous Hughes brothers. They have been tearing it up in the NHL, and I just want you to know that my daughters have planned the March 1st and March 2nd, 3rd weekend to see the Devils in the Honda Center, and then to go to the 12:30 game on Sunday of the Kings versus the Devils, then back to the Honda Center so they can pick up Quinn Hughes in the afternoon at 5 o'clock. So they have a Hughes weekend planned.
Big plan.
Yeah, their whole friend group is like dying. Number one, I think they are enamored with the Hughes brothers, but they are also enamored with how incredible they are playing and impacting the NHL and their teams.
Yeah.
It is truly, they have lived up to what was sort of the promise of these three incredible brothers.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, amazing family. First of all, very privileged to be working with them and Jim as well, their father, and Ellen. I've known for years. In all sports, and I said sincerely, in all sports, I don't know if we have any three siblings that dominant in a sport like we're talking about. I mean, the Kachuks are very, very dominant. They're two, but having three brothers in other sports, unless, I don't know, like being a first overall pick and 4 and 6 or 7 for Quinn. But not only that, playing at the level. Quinn Hughes is leading the NHL amongst defensemen. Luke is right there as an offensive defenseman, carrying the puck better than anyone. And boy, we haven't seen the rest yet with Luke. He's still young, and he's got such a great skater. And then Jack, knock on wood, if it wasn't for a few setbacks with a few injuries here, he was going at almost a point and a half a game. They're amazing. When I say this, I mean it sincerely, both on and off the ice. What they're able to accomplish and do, and their compete level, but their skill level, their skating, their edges, the way they play the game. I mean, I'm thrilled to be working with them and being close to them and to see what they do day in, day out for the game. We're not talking about one brother. It's
all three of them.
All three of them.
Yeah, it's like the Stastnys or something.
You could have, you could have 1 year where Quinn could be in the Norris talks, and Luke eventually won't be a rookie forever. And this year, Luke should be in the rookie discussions.
Sure.
And Jack MVP or all MVP. Who knows?
Yeah.
No, that's so exciting for the league.
It is, and
for the game,
and seeing Quinn is just like the maturity of this young defenseman it's really impressive. I mean, he's like a Letang. He's got just a big brain on the ice, and he sees the ice, and he executes with incredible accuracy. He's fun to watch. He's fast. He's not a giant guy either, but he really he holds his own against the giant guys, which is all about knowing how to play that. It's amazing.
He positions well.
So well.
He knows how to position his body, because yes, he's not a big guy. Tremendous skater. His hockey IQ is off the charts, but also very serious off the ice, how to maintain and make sure that he has the fuel to play 24 minutes a night. It's not easy with his body. I mean, meaning not, he's not 6'3", 220 pounds. He's a leader. He's a captain of the Canucks now, and that was a big, major decision that the Canucks made when they elect him to be the captain, and he embraced the idea. And not only that, he's proven that he's a great captain and a great leader as well. And
they got, of course, one of my favorite former Pittsburgh Penguins coaching the team, Rick Tocchet, so that doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. Tock has done a great job since he got there, along with Jim Rutherford and Patrick Kane. They were all in Pittsburgh, and so great people, they're doing great.
That's a ringer team that's a ringer front office to get in there for sure. Rutherford's amazing. Very excited for the Hughes brothers. My daughters are excited for that weekend. They are definitely going to be, my youngest daughter came into the kitchen the other day in a Luke Hughes jersey, so she's committed. And I was like, are you kidding me? And she said, yep, they're coming to town. I'm ready. I was like, okay.
It's March, early March?
It's March 1st and 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, the Friday night game is in
Anaheim?
It's in L.A.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Devils and Kings, and then on Sunday it's No, it's in Anaheim on Friday. Right, that's right. Devils, Anaheim Friday night, and Sunday at
Awesome.
12:30. Kings, and then we drive down to Anaheim.
Great.
I got a carpool all the.
I'm sure I'll be getting a call from you, Jay.
I think they're going to call directly.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, "We're stealing your phone." They're going to time you up, say, "We need to talk to that agent of theirs and get in there." They're very committed.
That's awesome.
They love watching them.
Or maybe they should be committed. I don't know.
They should be committed. That is for sure. It's the whole friend group too. It's not just my daughters.
Right.
There's they have partners in crime on this one.
That's great.
So yeah, it's exciting to see. And which I think brings us around to the Kings a little bit, because we did a podcast with Jim Fox a little while back, because I said, Jim, I want to talk to you. I said, I think Andrei Kopitar is one of the best players in the league. He's one of the most underrated best players in the league, and I think he may be one of the best players that's ever played this game. What do you think?
100%, 100%. He's one of the most, if not the most complete 200 feet player that's ever played the game. His reach, his size, his hockey IQ, his compete, his patience, his discipline. I mean, everything. Kopitar is, I mean, we always say this, if he played on the East Coast, we'd hear about him a lot more, just the way it is. Till hockey continues to grow on the West Coast, the way it's growing, by the way, extremely well. We're not there yet, But now Kopi is as consistent as you could be, at age 36 now, like Sidney. I mean, they were both drafted in the same year, and I think he was the 11th pick overall that year.
We were talking about that. How did he go number 11?
Yeah, well, at the time he was playing in Europe. He's from Slovenia. He was playing in Sweden.
Yeah. They just didn't know him.
They didn't know him, And but to answer your question, it's special all the way.
Has he always been such a great two-way player? I don't remember his defense as much in the beginning when he started, and then I think it kind of changed around that time when they won the Cup is when I think he really
he's committed. Like all young players, it takes a while at first to buy into that, because you're a lot of times when you're trying to get drafted or you're playing youth hockey and you're rewarded with, no matter what your points are, it's no matter what,
right.
it's
goals
something.
and assists, and it's
and he was like everyone else, but his father was really a great teacher, an amazing teacher actually for him, and younger brother Gasper as well did a great job. I mean, his father was a great player as well in Europe too. I mean, I skated with Matthias a few years ago. I can't believe how great he was. A great player.
Yeah.
But he bought in. And I would say when Sutter came in, right around that time, like everyone else, the Kings played such an amazing system, hard to play against, no room on the ice. And Kopi was he was kind of the epicenter of that,
Yeah, he is so incredible to watch. And what I see, not just, today with the Kings, I see how he's mentored these young players. And I even heard, I forget who it was, that Pierre-Luc Dubois kind of wanted to come to the Kings so that he could play with Kopitar. Is that something you've heard as well?
Yeah, with Pierre-Luc, he's my client as well.
Of course he is.
Pierre-Luc and I had many, many conversations about where he wanted to play, and looked at the Kings, not only history, but where they're at, and with Kopi. It meant a lot for him to hopefully look up and learn from Kopi as well. And Dano was a great center, a really good center as well. So the center ice in LA is pretty strong, because it's important to win. Look at Vegas last year, with Eichel and Stevenson and Raw and Carlson. I mean, so
Tough.
Well, that was the thing too. Eichel, as we talked about with his neck surgery, is another guy kind of like a Kane, but younger in the sense that he had an injury. Teams were kind of a little bit, I think, maybe apprehensive in a sense. He certainly has proved them wrong as well.
Yeah.
And I've always been a Jack Eichel fan. I always think he kind of got, he was actually second in behind Connor
McDavid. Right. He was drafted
He never kind of got that respect I think he deserved, because he was in Buffalo.
Yeah.
They weren't really playing that well with him, and then now there's like this whole thing where he looks. I think if he looks back on it, probably the best thing that happened to him was playing on a team like that, going to Vegas, and I think he learned a lot more and became a better player personally from what I saw beforehand.
Well, the adversity. First of all, I mean, it was probably one of the, if not the most complicated file I've ever worked on, because we start working with Jack during the issue when he had to make a decision about the kind of surgery if you guys recall, I mean, the artificial disc replacement wasn't a surgery that was approved by the NHL clubs.
That's
Approved.
right.
It was
That's right,
it was the fusion, and so Jack was adamant about getting the ADR done. And when we started working together, we had to go through a lot of hoops. He had $50 million left on his contract, 5 more years at $10 million a year.
Yeah.
So for a team to acquire his rights, they had to also be responsible for the $50 million left, and not knowing what this surgery is about. And I would say that most surgeons, I would say that 98% of surgeons were against the ADR. Dr. Prosmak, Dr. Bray in California, and Dr. Camisa were major players into being in favor of Jack getting the ADR. And we had to go against the grain a lot. And I give all the credit to Jack, first of all, for he was extremely stubborn, but he also studied a lot. He became an expert in the room of talking about this surgery. And I became at one point, I knew all the different brands of discs that could be used for different impact sports and so on and so forth. But I also give credit to Vegas and maybe a couple other teams who were sniffing and trying to get his rights because it was risky.
Sure.
And Vegas went in and at all costs, they gave a pretty good package. They gave us room to work with him on his rehab as well. With Mark Lindsay, who was excellent in doing the rehab. Actually, Mark was working with Jack and Kristen McCaffrey in San Francisco. So doing the rehab for 3 to 4 months, it was an amazing recovery again. And so Vegas made the decision to go all in, and most teams didn't have permission from the medical staff because most GMs were willing to, 24, 25-year-old center like that. So, but then going to Vegas. He went through a lot of adversity with this file because it lasted 6 months of battles in order for us to get him moved. He became stronger, I would say, because of all that. And Vegas has a lot of great pieces. And the Vegas Golden Knights organization did a great job in assembling all the right pieces around Jack. And he bought in.
Yeah.
He's becoming also a very, very good 200-feet center. Better than ever.
You mentioned something interesting a few minutes ago. You said the NHL doesn't approve it. How can the NHL dictate to a person what type of surgery they're allowed to have? That's a little bit excessive, I think.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's in the CBA. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know. Most agents probably didn't even know about this because you know what? I would say again, probably 99% of procedures are already accepted. Like your typical shoulder surgery, whether it's Latargy or whatever, you have options, but it's all there, been there, done that.
Right.
This was a new concept, and in the CBA, the players, like the team doctor, could not clear you,
right,
if you don't do so. I'm assuming that in the next CBA, this will go away, perhaps.
Because that was my understanding that the Buffalo team doctors insisted on him having a fusion. That was where the battle became, what I understand. They were
insisting without throwing a dart at the Buffalo Sabres.
No. I mean, it's understandable.
Most other teams, including probably the panel on the NHL, the NHLPA doctors, were all against. So everyone was against it. So it's not like one, you know what I mean? Vegas took a chance.
Yeah, I mean, as a spine specialist myself, I don't do surgery, but I have to do the conservative aspect of that. The last thing you want to do is fuse a 25-year-old kid.
Sure.
I mean, that's because then what ends up happening is when you do a fusion, it causes the levels above and below because there's no longer motion at that disc.
Yes.
It causes the levels above and below. They're much more prone to injury, much more stress there, and it causes basically a domino effect. Yeah. Then next thing he's getting the next level done, and then it's like he's 34 years old. He's had 3 fusions.
Yeah.
The disc, the ADR, and again, the ADR is not a perfect surgery, but as an alternative for the situation, you can always fuse.
You could always, we talked about it too.
You can always do it. That's the important thing. Yeah. I'm happy for him. I was rooting for him to win the cup. There's certain players that Jay and I talk about. We want them to win a cup in their career, facing adversity. he was one of them, and I'm glad he did it.
Yeah.
So he is really contributing to the Golden Knights. He's such a strong player.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and as we continue into the injuries, a very unfortunate injury, of course, was the skate injury to the player in the UK who got a skate across the neck. Yeah, Adam Johnson, who lost his life because of a skate injury. Kopitar's wearing a neck guard.
Yeah.
And I think if I were playing in the NHL, I'd probably be wearing a neck guard.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, I think, you see that injury once in a while where a neck gets cut, and you wonder, they wear so much equipment already.
Hands,
why not?
the wrist
why
is
not?
also open. Yeah.
Why not put a little neck guard on? So because the skates now are so sharp.
Yeah. They're knives.
They are skating on razor blades, and they are so sharp that I think it is warranted. I know the NHL hasn't made any formal announcement like everybody's got to wear a neck guard, but I think if I were a player, I'd be thinking, I think a neck guard may make sense.
Yeah, that's something that the NHL Players Association is bringing to its members. I mean, the players have to make that ultimate decision from it's remember the visor and all that. I do agree that players, they should use it. They should wear it if they, because not only the neck, it's the wrist as well. We've seen a lot of injuries,
back of the leg.
also back of the leg, the Achilles heel. But every body parts that you have should be covered against that knife. Those knives, because the players are also more impactful, more powerful, faster. This injury was very unfortunate, and it rarely happens. But no, it does happen.
Quinn Luke got cut.
There was, and there was a 10-year-old kid that lost his life. Some kid skated over his neck, and it's hockey's dangerous. We all get that, and there are fluke injuries. This injury, I think, was a combination of an aggression and a very unfortunate landing place for that. I mean, once you cut the carotid artery, it's over in very, very, very fast amount of time. There's not a couple pumps of your heart and your blood volume's out on the ice. It's over.
Your brain is infarcted and
it's
stroke.
Over. It's done.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of blood that comes through there is there's no way to get control. A vein you can hold pressure on the jugular vein, but the carotid artery is just and it retracts and it goes. You're finished.
Yep.
So there was no hope for this kid. But once that was cut, that was a lethal injury. And so, is it going to happen all the time? No. But will it happen again? Yes.
Well, are you willing to take a chance? Now, that's the question, too, is that does it become standard in the CBA next year, or at least, like you're saying about the visor?
The pro level, it's going to be a conversation that the Players Association, they'll discuss. However, at all other levels, below, it should be mandatory. I mean, youth hockey, for sure, 100%. Junior college hockey, it should be mandatory. Because also get used to it. Like the visor, get used to it, and eventually you'll wear it and you'll be fine. So no, it's sometimes unfortunately it takes a tragedy to occur in order for us to.
Well, you see, we know too much, so we'd wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd wear one.
Bubble wrap. I'd be out there like
totally. I mean, the
Stay Puft Frost or the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy. I mean, all
yeah. But I mean, it's interesting though that Kopitar did put it on, and he's no worse for the wear. I mean, it's it's just another piece of equipment.
The gloves I can understand, and having something wrist guard because you're using their hands. I know sometimes they'll trim even the wrist, the glove. So they get more flexibility. I get it.
Yeah, but they're
it's still exposed.
Yeah, it's exposed, but the under layer they have, that layer that they wear, now it's made of Kevlar a little bit too in that area. So the skate it protects it.
Yeah.
So you still have your gloves, but you just don't want any potential friction from the blade to skin anywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean you can get especially the other part of that. I mean maybe you can if you cut the arteries at the wrist, you can hold pressure and you'll get them out of there. That is not a lethal injury in that setting, but you're going to cut a bunch of tendons and it's going to really affect the way that your hands work, and that's for sure. I mean we call that spaghetti wrist, and man, did I do a lot of those as a plastic surgeon. We do a lot of hand surgery in our training, and when you come in and there's 14 tendons cut, you just look at it and you start lining them up and putting them together, but they never work right again.
No, and we've had players who had to it made a big change in their career based on that. They couldn't play again.
Of course not.
They didn't have the grip.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Quebec Junior actually, as you know, they got rid of fighting.
Yeah.
And we all think that fighting is part of the game. It's always been part of the game. It should always be part of the game. I hate the instigator rule. I think it's wrong. I think they need to take that out of the game. But what is it when you're looking for a player to represent and there's no fighting allowed in that one league? Does that affect your view of the players that no one can really express that part of their game? Or does that not
Not at
affect
all.
it? No,
Not at all. It's probably the last thing that we care about or we look. You know, I mean, when we look at players and we look at so many other things. You know, I mean, characters, speed, hockey IQ, all that stuff, all the above. But never cross our minds that they can't fight. That's why. You know what I mean? But it's a great question because it got brought up a few times before, and so but we're never concerned about that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the fights are fewer and fewer in the league. They seem to be, dying down a little bit. There's one a game, or maybe it's probably less than that. I've seen games where there've been no fights.
Oh yeah, many. But as a fan, we get going. You're watching a game and someone gets hit, and you should
got to go take that guy out.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're doing it these days, and this is one frustrating thing about it. They'll start a fight or start a scrum over a legal clean hit.
Yeah.
It used to be where a guy would get hit, it was a dirty hit or something that they would kind of get rich.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing some of these open ice hits. The guy has the puck, just has his head down, got a good one on him, and then everybody goes nuts about it. It's like, no, it's a clean hit. You don't want to get him back, then you get him in the ice, but it's not. I think they overreact in that sense sometimes.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, if you look at intimidation, so you're the guy, you're the hitter, you're the guy who's going to hit, and you got to think about it twice sometimes when you're about to hit someone clean.
Sure.
Even if he has his head down, because you have to pay the double price.
Right.
You say, do I hit him or do I? And I've seen guys laying off. They had a chance to have a really strong, clean hit, and they're deciding not to do so because they're gonna have to.
It's retribution.
And pay the price. Some of them seem to don't care as much, but I know that a lot of players are thinking about it twice.
I don't know. Everybody seems to keep hitting Dylan Larkin in his head or his neck and never getting penalized. It's the most frustrating thing. Especially when he laid out on the ice a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was scary.
Very scary moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's when
he's already had a previous neck injury.
Yeah, he did. And Perron went there and he did what he did, and that was kind of an accident too.
Yeah, like stick up for your teammate. Though.
Yeah,
I mean,
he did, and he
6 games.
6 games.
Yeah,
which I think was a little bit excessive in my opinion.
Yep, agree.
For that one,
that was a lot.
Where there's other issues, I'd like for the league to penalize a little bit more.
Yep,
I'll be okay with it.
Boarding when you see a guy's numbers, just leave him. Don't hit him.
Yeah. Sometimes though it happens quick, player turns, but each of them we can evaluate.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean those boarding, they're scary moments. I mean that's for sure.
Really,
those guys are going so fast and they're so huge and right into the wall. It's rough.
Yeah, and it doesn't give.
No, it doesn't. It looks like it bounces a little, but it's a wall.
And I was talking to my uncle, by the way. Years ago in the 50s and part of the 60s, they were playing with chicken wire instead of the glass. Can you imagine getting your face raked across a chicken wire?
Yeah, and no helmets.
Right.
And no helmets. And fixed goals that were in the ice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Didn't move,
Yeah, they didn't move. They didn't pop them off a few pegs and slide them around. They were it was like running into a post, like a soccer goal post. It was awful.
Yeah, it's amazing to look at those old clips.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, anything you want to tell us that's coming up big for the rest of the season? Anything that you see that's going to be exciting for people to know about?
Other than we're preparing for the trade deadline, and for us, it's March 4th, I think. So
it's coming
most of our conversations between now and then, it's are you a buyer, are you a seller? We know a lot of the teams right now where they're going to be positioned, but there's probably more than a handful of teams that are still debating between now and probably February 15th, where are they going to be, if they're going to be buyers or sellers. So for us, we're focusing on that, focusing on potential extensions, contract extensions, and then making decisions and trades. And so other than that, it's the same. I mean, my day starts with a list of probably 30 to 40 calls I got to make. And then I get the odd unfortunate injuries or things that we have to deal with, or last-minute conversations we need to have with player management, about it. So it's not a rigid schedule. There's always curves throughout the day, but that's why we're there doing what we usually try to do.
Please, I ask one favor. Have it in the back of your mind to help me get a cup. I just
You got so many so far.
no, but
I
here's
know,
the thing.
right? How many more do you need?
But I've never seen them the Wings win in person. That's my
Yeah.
one. I was there in 09.
Yeah.
They lost in Game 7. I'm still not over it. I got to see them win in person. So if there's ever a little hint of something like, between two teams, just
All right.
nudge them.
Well, we put Kane there this
I
year,
know.
so that's a big one.
I love that, and I was actually hesitant. I said, Jay, I said, can I text Pat and ask him what's going to happen? He's like, don't text him. No, don't text him. Like it's top secret national security. Don't text him about it.
You can't ask those questions. That's not right.
yeah.
This is there's a.
Well, I would have sent you an emoji or something.
Right, the
Maybe,
middle
maybe
finger.
a heart
Would
or.
have been the middle finger emoji.
There's a behind the scenes part of that deal that just you have to wait till it hits the public. You can't get all that insider info.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just-
I'm going to order my Kane Red Wings jersey, hoping he's getting extended. So
that is worthwhile.
is
That's
that
for sure.
is that a good investment?
Yeah, well,
See, I'm trying to
I
get.
can't. Let's see how the Wings are playing between the next 10 games. Let's see how the next 10 to 15 games.
Not
Hopefully,
like a backdoor the question there. Just kidding.
it's a good way to approach it.
Yeah, I mean, Kane is that's a big one for you. You should be grateful.
I'm thrilled. My friend who's a Blackhawks fan is still mad about it, but I keep sending him pictures and how he's doing, and and rubbing it in. But no, I mean he's just calm and cool out there too, which is great. He's not rattled.
No.
It's my first time seeing him play in person, and I was just really. I mean, it was just really impressive.
He creates so much space for
Yeah.
himself and his hands, and it's just special to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say thank you to Pat Brisson
Yeah.
from CAA coming in, CAA Sports, and just doing, we love hearing all the stories. We're the biggest fans of the NHL. That's why we've been doing this podcast for years on end. And, we think the injuries are very relevant, and we think that the physiology is a big part of the
Yeah.
game. And obviously, that's a big part of your job. You sound like you have a medical degree with what you're talking about over there. And so we appreciate you coming and talking about it.
Well, appreciate you guys as well. Appreciate what you do for the game as well, and being a big part of it too. And that's what makes our game and our culture so great.
It is. It's a very special culture, and we definitely. I brought my whole office to the Kings game for the holiday party, which was really awesome. They enjoyed it.
That's great.
Well, thanks, Pat. This is then the Dr. Hockey Podcast signing off with your prescription for the NHL.